Hey guys, Luke here, and I'm here to preview the NRL season for 2015. In this video, we're going to be doing Sunday afternoon football. We've got two games. We're going to be going over the Panthers taking on the Bulldogs and the Sharks taking on the Raiders. So we have one really exciting game, one meh sort of game, in my opinion. So as a Bulldogs fan, I'm very excited for the Panthers taking on the Bulldogs. So let's get into the team lineups. So we got Moylan, we got George Jennings, we got Vare, Idris, Wattins, Lesniak, Soward, Wallace, McKendry, Sekiaro, Kyatt, Manu, Brown, Elijah Taylor, and then the bench is Peachy, Lattimore, Campbell, Gillard, Cartwright, Yao, and Coruscant to be admitted. Moving on to the Bulldogs side, we got Brett Morris, Curtis Rayner, Josh Morris, Laffey, Sam Perrott, Reynolds, Hodgson, Tolman, Leacher, Graham, Jackson, Williams, Eastwood, and the bench is Casiano, Clemmer, Pritchard, Tim Brown, and Moses Mbaya, with one to be admitted. Now this is a big rematch from the semi-finals where the Bulldogs picked up the victory, but me as a Bulldogs fan, I'm still itching to set the record straight from two regular season games from last year with Penrith. They picked up the win both times, and I do think it was a little bit controversially, a few little shitty ref calls, but nonetheless, Panthers ended up winning, and I'd like the Bulldogs to just come out, start the season strong. We haven't had a strong start to the season since like 2012, 2011, something like that. So yeah, hopefully come out and get a huge win. In terms of matchups, I think Reynolds Hodgson up against Soward Wallace is a pretty good battle in my opinion. I think Soward had a great season last year. Interesting to see if he can keep it up this year. It wasn't sort of just like I know this obviously isn't a one-hit wonder sort of thing, but a one-year wonder, but he had been out of form for a little bit. Hopefully, for Panthers fans, this wasn't just a thing where they all just played out of their skin last year. And I do have to say they did get a little bit of an easy draw last year, but in terms of talking about, that's in terms of looking at where they finished and that sort of stuff. So it might give the impression that they're a little bit better than what they actually were, but they were a good side last year. Don't get me wrong. Just hopefully for Panthers fans, it's not a little bit of disappointment this year, and the same goes for Bulldogs fans, could be a disappointment. In terms of this actual game, I'm going to go for a Bulldogs win. Obviously, I'm a Bulldogs fan, but the reason is I just think we're too strong all over the park. I think Panthers got a few injuries, or had injuries. I think this Bulldogs, I don't think we've had any injuries through any of the trials or anything like that. I think you look at the fullbacks, I think they're pretty even. Morris up against Moylan. Actually, very interesting to see how Morris goes. But the back line, I think Bulldogs have got the better back line. I think we've got better halves. I think we've got the better forwards. Hooker position is actually something I should probably talk about. Sekiaro, absolutely outstanding last year. He's in my Supercoach side. But Michael Leach is also in my Supercoach side, so a good battle there. Leacher himself, I just want to briefly talk about him. Obviously got big shoes to fill with Ennis, who was previously the captain. Very interesting to see how he goes. I'm not sure what sort of style of player he is, but I think from reports he's sort of, he can kick a little bit. He runs out of dummy half. I'm not going to say he's a Sekiaro, but he's more of a Sekiaro than he was in Ennis by the sounds of things. So good to hear. I think the bench is where the Bulldogs will win this, but I think, like I said before, I do think the Bulldogs are better at all areas than Panthers. But I think the bench is where it's going to be won, because I think Panthers can at least keep up with the starting forwards and the back line and all that sort of stuff. But I think they'll just get overrun in the bench. They got some very young players. Peachy, I think, is a pretty good player. Lattimore, Campbell, Gillard making his debut. Cartwright hasn't played that much, or whoever it is, it's going to be there. They're very young, taking on the massive bench of Casiano, Clemmer, Pritchard, and Brown. So I don't think Mbaya will be in the side. I just can't see Panthers keeping up with them. For the whole 80, I think they're just going to get bashed, to be honest with you. So I'm going to predict the Bulldogs win 1-12. I do think it will be tight, and all the other games have been tight, but I think Bulldogs come away with the win. Moving on to Sharks taking on the Raiders. We're going to go over the Sharks side. So starting off with the fullback, Michael Gordon, Fecky, Beale, Latelli, Brown, Barba, Robson, Fafita, Ennis, Pryor, Bakuya, Graham, Gallen, and then the bench is Hyington, Arona, Tupou, David Fafita, Valentine Holmes, and Jack Bird, with two to be admitted. Moving on to the Raiders side, we got Wighton, Wonga, Croker, Lee, Rapana, Austin, Cornish, Shillington, Hodgson, Tills, Papali, Solio, Fensom, and the bench Macrone, Nuasala, Vaughan, and Shannon Boyd. Now, I think this one will be a lot closer than what people think. I know, obviously, the whole joke is, Ricky Stewart's a shit coach, and I've got along with it a lot of the times, and, I do think it's somewhat true, but I think Raiders have recruited very very well in terms of what they were able to get. I think it's pretty good. Picked up an England international for the hooker spot, which I think has been one of their biggest points where they've struggled, is the hooker position. They've never had a real solid hooker. No offense to Buttress and whoever else has been there, but they haven't had a very strong hooker. Picked up Blake Austin, who I think had a very, very good year for Tigers last year. I'm not really sure why they let him go, but you know what they did. Well, I know why they did, because they wanted the Moses guy to come through. But yeah, Austin. Interesting to see how Cornish goes. He played a few games last year, and his kicking game looked pretty strong. He seemed like a pretty okay player. Soliola come back from Super League. They picked up Noah Sala, who's on the bench there. I just think Raiders picked up they've got a pretty solid squad. Season Wonga on the wing, Edric Lee in the centres, who I think he'll be a revelation. Hopefully, he's going to stay fit. I'm not sure if that's where they'll end up playing. Edric Lee, Rapana, Wonga. They can all sort of mix between centre and wing spot. That's enough of talking about Raiders. Let's talk about the Sharks side. I think they do have a pretty impressive side. Although, from what I had in my head of Sharks being this top side, their lineup doesn't seem that impressive to me. Maybe I'm just expecting too much from them, going from where they were last year to where I expect them to come this year. But I don't know. Jarrod Beale wasn't particularly outstanding last year. Latelli, I thought he was good. Mitch Brown, as a Bulldogs fan, I know he's very hot and cold. He can finish one try that he should, but then he'll end up throwing an offload when you're going in for a try instead of putting the ball down. He's a bit of a weird player, but he's a good solid player. Ben Barba at 5'8", he was okay for the Broncos at 5'8", but he wasn't particularly that impressive. Jeff Robson, from what Todd Carney said, he's good at doing all the hard decisions and that sort of stuff, so maybe that can help Ben Barba rather than Ben Hunt, because I don't think Ben Hunt's someone who makes big plays or anything like that. He does for himself in terms of throwing dummies and that sort of stuff, but in terms of calling the shots, I don't know how prevalent that is. But Jeff Robson seems to be able to do that, so maybe Barba can just go and do his thing, because it certainly helped Carney according to him. Andrew Feeder's back. That should be that should be huge for them. He's so good when he's fit and firing. He's probably one of the best props in the game. Also, his brother's on the bench, so interesting to see how he goes. Michael Ennis moving over from the Bulldogs. I think he should just be able to tighten things up in the middle. I know they sort of had some okay hookers in the past, and I know they played Legion for a little bit, but they never really had a set hooker. So Ennis coming in, he's another leader to the side as well, which is good in a pretty young side. They've had a lot of turmoil recently, so hopefully he can just come and steady things up a little bit. He's not going to give you a lot in attack, but he's going to give you a pretty solid defence and a good leader. Matt Pryor, not very impressive him at all. That's all I'm going to say. And he's at prop, so I'm a little bit confused. Surely they have someone better for prop. Bakuya making his way back to the Shire. I think he's a pretty good player in his own form, but he was pretty shit last year, so maybe he just had a lucky run for the Sharks the year before and played well. I don't know. I think Wade Graham, Paul Gallen, I think they're their two best forwards. As well as Fafita. But those three, Fafita, Gallen and Graham, that's where the game is won and lost. Obviously, Gallen he'll be very good. I think Graham's another solid player. And Fafita, if he has a big game, Sharks go on to win this. If I'd make a prediction, and also I think Sharks have a pretty decent bench too. Hyington, Arona, Tupou, and Fafita. I think that's a very strong bench. But yeah, if we're going to make a prediction, I'm going to say Sharks 13 plus. I just think Raiders a little bit too early for them. I think they'll come good eventually, but they just got a lot of new faces. I know Sharks have a lot of new faces, but they've got a lot of known quality who've sort of played with each other at stages or that sort of stuff. But yeah, I think Sharks would gel a little bit more, and that will help them a lot. And yeah, I'm going to go for a Sharks win. Alright, thanks for watching, guys. We're on a little bit this one, but you know what, it's my video, so who cares. If you enjoyed it, leave a like, subscribe to my channel. If you want to follow me on Twitter, you can do that. My handle's at Mr. Luke on YT. Also got a Facebook page in the description below. I don't know if I'll use it or not, but yeah. And also, don't get too upset if I'm going against your sides. It's just an opinion. It's not a fact. I'm not trying to say my opinion's better than anyone else, but yeah, leave in the comment section below if your predictions and that sort of stuff, and I'll be sure to comment back. Alright, see you for my next video, which is Monday Night Football, and I'll see you then, guys. Bye.